Alright guys, let's go for the game number 4. The history so far is we were winning 3-0, we did one golden legs, we did one African clearing. They did choose to play Z-Wall, which in my opinion was a mistake. I believe that they should have chosen Arabia from the start, that in my opinion was their best map. So let's talk a bit about Arabia. So if you did check the draft video, if you did not, it's on this description. We did had a plan here to play using both Archer Civ, be it like Britain, Ethiopians or Shu, and a good cavalry Civ, but we did expect to have something like Romans or something like the Khmer. I think that I already did a mistake here on the beginning of the game because I did went for a meal on the chickens. This is a 9-view start guys, so I was actually a bit late to start eating the chicken, and that would mean that I would not be able to get a very fast uptime. But my hope here was that I would be able to eat the chicken and then try to just make a small wall here around the wood and the berries and get this part for myself. I was playing with the Romans. I did my civilization was not that aggressive, but not that good. Gabi was playing here with the Magyars, and he did also went for the chickens, but different from myself, she actually went for a more I don't know, balanced strategy. He only used a few villagers to eat the chicken while going for the investment on the mule. So the investment would be on a single mule. Biel and Bro were playing here with the archer civilizations, and the build for the archer civilizations is quite simple. You go like all in on the food, minimum amount of views on the wood, usually like only 2, and you go up to the next stage collecting gold. After that, they will develop by going for barracks, double range, and later doing stuff. This version of Arabia is also very difficult to defend. As you can look here on the center of the map, that's like the land of the hills. So this provides a lot of good camping sites, but this is also very difficult to defend. Take a look, for example, on Gabi's map. Her gold is surrounded by hills. Her wood is surrounded by hills. Her berries is surrounded by hills. You are basically here on a crater, and from everywhere that your enemy attacks you, you are going to be onto a hill. Because of these characteristics, playing defensive on this map is nearly impossible, and therefore the teams that were playing more and more aggressive were the ones with better results. Biel had an excellent uptime here with 18 population. As you can see, he was going for a minimum amount of villagers on the foot now, going for the barracks, and then later would proceed to go for the archer ranges. Same thing can be said by Bro, that was trying already to make some walls and was going towards the next stage. By the way, he was Ethiopians. With the 100 extra food and gold from the Ethiopians, he would have enough resources to do most of the things, and I was into some trouble because both Gabi and Biel were actually trying to get my units here. So I actually had to go to leave the chickens before getting out of them. And my plan was to actually build a stable around here and complete the walls towards the mill and then complete towards there. I then tried to build a stable here closer to my berries, but I got denied because they were very aware of my plan. That forced me to do another suboptimal mill, suboptimal stable here, close to the TC, but at some spot that I could defend. I started trading villagers against their scout, did manage to kill one scout from Gabi, but that ended up costing me one villager. Right now I was into a very bad scenario here, civilization wise guys, and strategical wise. Basically I had one lumber camp, I had no food under my TC, and I barely had food for extra scouts. So I took the decision to go for a more defensive approach. Looking at my map, I decided that I would place a tower to defend my berries. I knew that I was against BL, that was the archer player, and I knew that I was a sitting duck here. I would die to the first like 2 archers and 2 spearmen that he bring to my base. Therefore, I used this old strategy that I got from ETW Raid, Italian player that still plays towards these days, and the idea is pretty simple. If you send 5 villagers to collect stone and push them back, you actually have 250 stone, and therefore you can drop 2 towers. I probably saw he doing this strategy around 2004, so yes, we're talking about a strategy of 21 years ago, and I still think it's pretty valid to defend yourselves. Thanks to this strategy, I would be able to cover my whole economy here with towers. My wood line, my berries, my gold. So basically I would be able to freely raid and counter raid until I fixed my economy and could go back to army. Meanwhile, Brew was trying to hurt Gabby with his initial archer and scout and spearman as well. And of course she was having some trouble with that. I did manage to reach BL's map here, guys, but unfortunately I did not had like Magyars, so I didn't had enough power here to actually deal the damage that I actually wanted to, which was quite bad. I basically killed like a single villager, but at the cost of basically losing everything. Gabi and BL failed to do any significant damage to me, but I knew that eventually they would have to go after Bro, so I warned Bro and he told me that okay, I'm kind of walled. I would say that so far Bro had one of the cleanest games. He was doing the damage, he was doing stuff. Gabi also went for the stone and realized that she would need some extra defense for her map. BL went for a very safe gameplay and did manage to place already a tower on his gold. Honestly, that was a great call. With this tower, you wouldn't be able to pressure those archer rangers or his gold at all. And basically that was the game, guys. So this was how Arabia was going, a very intensive feudal age. They tried to attack Bro, but with a very small archer number, and Bro did punish BL for that. I think that this was our momentum. BL just lost 4 archers. I am back on track. I'm not going to die because I have towers. Bro is not going to die because he's walled. I would say that the only thing that could have actually hurt Bro was a counter raid. So I guess that not completing this segment of wall and this other one here actually hurting a lot, because so far Brew was having a good game, so was I, but now Gabi was able to hurt him with her scouts. And remember that those are major scouts. They do have already free forging, so this means that they actually deal way more damage on the views. So we did try to hurt Gabi, but she was already towering herself up, which made it very difficult to kill her. BL already had towers, so their team already had 3 towers, while our team had only 2 on my side, but Brew was now a sitting duck for the ratings, and Gabby made sure to exploit that. So Gabby was hurting Brew with the ratings, and I was getting hurt from BL because there's just a limit on how much you can actually protect with the towers. Because of these archers hurting my food economy, and I didn't have enough scouts or armor or upgrades to fight against, I ended up delaying my castle age uptime. I did decide to go fully into the upgrades here, both bloodlines and the armor. Honestly, I have one regret. I think that I should have added a second stable and doubled my bet on the scouts. I think that I should have done something like 20 scouts here. If I could go back in this game, that's exactly what I would do. Instead of going Castle Age, I would have massed more and more scouts to try and clean out these armies from BL that were split along the map. Brew was coming here to save me with his archers because he realized my situation. Unfortunately for him, I think that he wasn't aware, guys, on how close he was to wall. If he knew that there was this forest, he would probably have closed that with like 4 houses, and he would have gotten no raid whatsoever. Honestly, I don't know what else I could have done, perhaps even sending like extra views to the stone, like 2 or 3, to try to recover this area, and perhaps placing 1 or 2 watchtowers to try to secure my gold. Still, Brew was doing the best game. He did win advance to Castle Age. We did retreat slowly here. He was aware that he was already on the way to the Castle Age, and then he would have a lot of strength. I think that I got a lot of idle time here because both Gabi and BL bring their armies, and they had a few more numbers than I. So thanks to these extra numbers, I got myself delayed. I failed to add my second stable. I had to keep following Gabi here to make sure I would survive. So these things kind of hurt my eco pretty much, man. Pretty much. Eventually, Brew advanced to the Castle Age, where he would have access to these best weapons, the Ethiopian archers, and I think that right here we had a good momentum because we were both during the Castle Age. So once again, we were in a very good spot. I was on the Castle Age with 3 stables. My economy was pretty bad, guys. If you take a look, I'm housed, I'm not with a good economy, it's completely unbalanced, I have way too much gold. Perhaps I should have considered even adding a market here to try to balance it out, but I thought that I would just be consuming all the gold by making new stables. We did try once again to hurt Gabi with our armies. Hitting the archer guy, as I have mentioned, it is a bit harder than hitting the cavalry guy. With these towers, we just went around and we thought, okay, we can still manage to somehow get something. Our economy both consists of 40 views, so we were quite behind, but we did manage to deal a significant damage to her economy, killing several villagers and making sure that she would idle a lot more. Meanwhile, at home, I was able to do some small quick wallings and defend from her light cavalry. Once I had a few knights, I was in a very good spot. Thanks to that, both me and Bro did a significant amount of damage, and I think that so far we just recovered part of the economy damage that we suffer, but of course not without me losing a few extra villagers to Gabi and her aggressive play. Now BL was on the castle age. He was a Breton player trying to hold his archers together there, and he had a big army, and now he would be able to start oppressing us using the Breton range. Bru was doing a good game, still playing 1TC, triple archers, ballistics, a few pikemen defending, extra investments. We had to go back, they were on the hill. I didn't yet had enough knights to support Bru. I was only now being able to afford my eco upgrades and the +2, so I wouldn't be able to jump on the enemy archers with that. And of course, every trade was actually quite good for BL because he had extra range. So if we actually get to fight a full army versus full army, the Ethiopian DPS is better. But until we do engage on this poke game and trying to hit each other, it will always be better for the Breton player. Honestly, I don't know what I would have done differently here. I think that I had way too few army and I didn't know how to actually improve my army count here. I was still playing 1TC, I suffered a lot during the feudal age. They were started to pressure us here until Bru went towards the hill. We were basically waiting for them to get a mistake so that we could play on the hill. But they were very, they had a good awareness of their armies, and we were barely managing to do that. Knights dancing, couldn't barely engage. Bru trying to cut off the distance, but right there they were the ones climbing the hill, so things were not going so great for us. And that was basically the dynamics here. Bru going Revi into the archers, already playing with 3 ranges, BL doing the similar approach, but already considering to go for the stone to add extra TCs, Gabi going still Revi here for the knights, but with 4 defensive towers, 1 in the wood, 1 in the stone, 2 in the gold, and also already getting access to a secondary gold. I think that macro-wise Gabi had the best game so far. Not only that, but she already started doing what she does best here, which is raiding. With access to her knights, she started raiding Bru, and the Bru army was actually focused here more on the center of the map. That ended up forcing us to make some word moves here to try and go after her knights. It's very difficult to defend from knights because an experienced cavalry player will just start splitting its forces to confuse the raiders, and that's exactly what she tried to do. We still did kill a few knights. I was now playing with 4 stables, did manage to get my second TC. So far, I think that the game was pretty wide open and we had similar stats. We just had to survive these ratings. Was doing my best here to try and not overuse my army chasing down Gabi's army. Was slowly killing their knights. By the way, she's Magyar, so she had already all the upgrades. I was still lacking the last one. And we did try to hurt him once again with a few small ratings. Not so effective, even when we combined our forces, and of course I was still messing up several amount of knights. The thing here that we didn't know, guys, and honestly I think that was our mistake, is that Gabi was keeping us so busy running after her cavalry, both me and Bro, that BL had a lot of time to mass his army and also click to Imperial Age. We didn't know, but BL was already on the way to Imperial Age with a single TC on this stage. Bru had 1 TC as well, he just clicked to the next age, he already was investing into a second TC. We did spot an army from BL, and I think that this is one of the most crucial moments of the game. we didn't knew that BL was on the way to Imperial Age. I knew that I had several army and that I would also I would keep on the castle age for several times. We knew that Gabi was making cavalry non-stop, but Bru just went up. So right there, we got a BL army alone and out of position. I did had 8, let's see how many. I did had 14 cavalry units closer to BL, and I knew exactly what he would do: run towards the tower to try to use to back it up his army. I believe that the correct move, if I had all the information, was to dive, both me and Bro, and try to trade most army as we could to this Briton army. The thing is, we were blind regarding that, guys. We didn't knew. Since we didn't knew, we actually chose at some point not to commit with the fight. At some point, despite the early engage, we did knew that Gabi was actually trying to close by, and despite having all the cavalry there, we did decide to go back because we wanted to wait for Bru Imperial Age to kick in. We thought that we would be the first ones to Imperial Age, so our mistake, guys. We didn't consider that BL was already on the way to the next age. And thanks to that, we did retreat, we did give them the time that they need to breath, and despite our efforts to develop the economies here and also to get some walls done, this was actually good for them. Gabi was still distracting Bru, so he didn't have his whole army available on the center. He was still running and scouting for her raiders. And as you can see, she did indeed had some raiders over Bru's here. Very annoying to deal with. Very annoying. She does an excellent job here, even dodging some arrows to get close by, and right here we had a problem. Bru was focusing here on minimizing his losses and trying to take down some riders. I had a big army here, but I wasn't actually managing to do something about that. Gabi was reinforcing her base not to die while developing here with 2 TCs and massing army non-stop, and BL that just reached the Imperial Age was now being able to add new town centers. If there's one thing that I think that BL does quite well is adding the outposts to open here the line of sight. As you can see, he started doing several outposts, so even trying to raid a guy like this is like very difficult. If you do play with lots of outposts like he does, you are basically trying to go against a guy that has full awareness of the map. So raiding him was a nightmare, and right now whatever we were suffering on the castle age to both damage and range from the Britons, well, double that, because right now he had 10 range arbalests pushing us. Gabi would never allow us to actually go in free here because she was constantly matching my numbers and she was constantly raiding Bru, making his life very miserable. We did have some problems. I was very concerned about my forward gold. Different from Gabi, I didn't have like multiple towers on the gold, and since I started eating the back gold, guys, my front gold was still untouched here. I needed this gold because the back gold was gone, so I actually did a bad priority here. I think that I should have invested indeed into some way of getting my early gold to later on the Imperial Age get the back ones, and that actually ended up being very difficult for me. I was on the way to Imperial Age, so I had a good amount of army, but I wasn't confident enough into jumping. Bru couldn't actually get closer to BL because of the Briton range, so BL was doing like a great job. My plan here and what I told Bru is, hey man, I'm going up. I think that we can actually try to keep massing army, and once I'm on Imperial Age, I can actually go for extra armor on my knights and try to jump on their army. But the thing that I didn't know and I didn't consider is that BL was already ready to drop a forward castle, and this forward castle was a very bad situation. Let's go about the game of ifs. What would happen if we did jump this army? Would we be able to take them down? Honestly, I doubt so, because if you take a look here on the stats, right here BL had already 81 military units. So this guy had the biggest army count in the game. We're talking about 80 Briton archers on the hill. So I think that from this point there was no hope for us. Since I did have the Romans, I also had no access to Paladin. I don't know, if I had some civilization like Persians or maybe Lithuanians or maybe another one that I didn't draft, would I have been able to somehow clean this army using paladins? Hard to know. Another mistake is that most of my army was injured. Take a look, for example, on my light cavalry. I had like 3 light cavalry, but they barely had some HP. So stating that I had like 36 cavalry units here is a lie. Most of these units will die on the first side of the enemy archers, as you guys can see. So my army was going down and I wasn't healing then. When BL was being able to pressure us using all those heals, my main gold was gone, so I had nothing to defend from, and I knew that BL would slowly start to kill my base and I would never be able to catch this back. So the idea here was for us to go for the Heavy Armored Knights, try to snipe them down, abusing from the fact that Gabi wasn't yet on the Imperial Age. Problem is, while we were very busy here on this fight, take a look on what Gabi does. She killed all my gold, she killed most of my views there, she was raiding both me and Brute heavily. Right here guys, we went for a final fight, we tried to jump on their army with our Armored Knights and Arbalest. The problem is, BL had twice our army, so he had way more army. Actually Brute had like 62 units, but still less than the 89 from the Britons. Brute only had 51 views because Gabi kept raiding him non-stop, dealing several damage. I went down towards 70 views despite having the better eco at the time, because I was also getting heavily raided by Gabi. While we were fighting, she was always raiding back, and that was very difficult for us. I tried to jump on BL, but Gabi's army was enough to hold him back, and my injured knights barely did something. We did fight against the hill, and there were Briton archers that never get even touched during this fight. Despite the efforts and the micro showed on here by Bro, after all this fight, BL still has like 70 archers and control over the hill. And while we were distracted fighting, what would Gabi do? Well, she would basically place a few knights to raid us and get our eco even worse. So the constant raidings from Gabi, the big pressure from BL, and even now a second castle just said, okay, there's no way, I'm not seeing a way. I even thought about placing some markets, trying to trade back, but honestly, look at my farming eco, guys. Right here, I only had like 9 views eating food. Brew economy is that. I talked to him and I didn't know how well he was. I knew he was bad because of the ratings, but he has around 50 views. So we have like half, we don't have even half the villagers from the enemy on this stage. They had like 4 times our economy. Gabi was developing her eco. I tried to counter raid him, considering that her towers wouldn't do much damage to my cavaliers. That is correct. The problem is we didn't have any kind of defense to buy enough time for us to go back. I was forced to go for a very back castle here. I wasn't being able to do any kind of army to effectively trade, and now they changed their target here towards Brew. And this, guys, was our loss here on the finals on the Arabia map. Very well played by the enemies. I wonder what could have happened if I knew that BL was going up and I just fully jumped on him before allowing him to get access to the army, but I guess we never know, and honestly it's very likely that he could have traded and still replaced his army with the 4 archer rangers from the Briton. So very well played, insane timings here from BL, and look at this, guys. 92 military count. Playing against his Britons is very difficult, very difficult.